Check, check. There we go. All right. Now we've got audio. How's everybody doing? I see we've got some on all the platforms. Some on Twitch, some on YouTube. Welcome for all those new. We're getting back to a sculpture I had previously used. I've been working on for a while, and pardon me. And yeah, then we're gonna be working on Keanu Reeves' likeness of Mr. Reeves as Neo. So yeah, should be a fun 2 hours. They usually go by pretty quickly. It seems like 1 hour for each one is not enough, but yeah, I'll do the best I can to keep everyone informed and entertained. Let me know if anything seems weird audio-wise. Hopefully everything's good. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat. Sound is low. Okay, good to know. Let's see here. Check, 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 check. Let's see the gain. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing, testing. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check, 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 check. There we go. How's that? Is that better? Sounded fine for them. All right. Well, let's see, because I got that up, and I've got my gain up. I don't want to blast everybody either, though. I don't want to deafen anybody. But yeah, hopefully that's good enough. Clear and loud. Okay, cool. Good. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't want it to be too loud where like I said, I don't want to blast your eardrums. So yeah. If anybody has any ZBrush questions, please feel free. Otherwise, we're just going to get back to anatomy. So, is that backwards? It is backwards. Dang it. This camera. Whoa. Hang on a second here. Some weird stuff going on. This camera always flips back and forth. I don't know why, but there we go. All right. Okay. So we're going to be using this book. I use this book a lot as reference. Of course, there's stuff on the internet too, but an atlas of anatomy for artists is great. It's a classic, and it's always nice to reference. So if you guys have the opportunity, pick it up. I'm not sure if it's on Amazon or if it's been sold out. I know often I'll hear people saying it's been sold out left and right. So you know, search for it where you can. Some people have PDFs of this because it's such an old and classic book. So it really just depends, where you're at in the world, I guess, and who has what. But yeah, if you guys ever have a chance, pick it up for sure. If you are ever planning to do human anatomy, because it's a great reference guide. Just get my thing set up here. Cool. So is everybody locked down still, or is anybody in another part of the world or another part of the states where it's open? Anyone getting back to some semblance of normality? Let's move this up a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's see. One other thing here is quickly gonna make an adjustment. Looking for my one web browser. Just getting my music. Okay. Yeah. What's the name again? Full Lockdown UK. Oh, I was just talking with a friend of mine from the UK. Yeah, it sounds like it's about the same there as it is here. Sadly, it's not very open, free, or fun currently. Robert Clapp, what's the name of me or of this piece? Or sorry, what's not sure what your question is. The name of what? Oh, the book. The book is called An Atlas of Anatomy for Artists. I'll show it again for you quick here. There you go. And it's by Fritz Scheider. Dang it. I need like a paper clip or something. Or maybe never have what I need on the desk when I need it. Ah, well, this will work. It's a bit overkill, but got this GoPro clamp. It should work just fine. Overkill, but it gets the job done. Sorry, guys. It's been a busy day. All right. Took a while to get used to ZBrush, but now I'm a sucker for it. Yeah, such a nice program, indeed. Robert, you're welcome. Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve to ZBrush. I mean, I won't deny it. It took me a while to really, you know, get into it, but once you get over that hill, man, it's like a roller coaster. You just go. So right now I'm just concentrating on the muscles. I'm using a combination of move and form soft brush. Alex, welcome back. How you doing? Coding, what are you coding? Paint and Dragon, just bought my first 3D printer, been sculpting a while. Do you approach your sculpts differently if you know they're to be printed? To a degree. I think clean topology is still always nice to use in general because it helps with just the way sculpting in general looks. If you have topology that flows with the form, meaning it's quads, and you have proper edge loops, so you look at this topo, if I bring it down. It's nice topology. It just obviously complements the human figure, right? You could get decent look, you could get a decent appearance with something that's triangulated as well, but you'd have to be much higher subdivision level, and then in turn, it's more of a pain to smooth or make large, gross effects, movements, adjustments. So there's a benefit to having lower subdivision levels and clean topology so that you can, in fact, drop it down and did I just select that instead of slash? Yeah. Where's my /3? There we go. Yeah, a lot of benefit to having clean topo. So I recommend whenever possible. That's the first thing with anything that's going to be 3D printed is if you have a clean topology to start with, use that. But then, of course, at the end, decimate at the very end, just so you can save your 3D printing software the headache of having to churn through millions and millions of polygons as opposed to, calculating a few 100,000. Even a million, it's still fine, I guess, in general, depending on your machine and the software you're using. But yeah, other than that, I guess I've learned to approach 3D printing with the way I approach it with that in mind is simply near the end, what parts you join, what parts you're going to separate, and boolean from, using one to carve out the other. And there's little techniques there at the end that I always make sure to follow, which I'll share when I get to those points. But otherwise, I mean, it's just sculpt whatever you imagine, and then figure out how to print it afterwards. Don't print something with limitations in mind, really, because then you're shortchanging your creativity. I think you're shortchanging the appearance, the beauty, the aesthetic you're going for, all that. You're just doing a disservice there. So, but yeah, that's my 2 cents. In my case here, I'm combining an older model with a newer version. So this is the old one where I actually had it segmented for the snap pin system that I've devised for this piece, but I wanted to keep the arm and the strap and this area the same. I'll readjust some of this too, but figured I'd keep that work done since I was happy with it. Might still tighten things up a bit, but it's not, it's not anymore. It doesn't need to be completely redone or anything, so I've kind of just left it where it's at. I think like this area could probably use a little cleaning up here still too, but in general, I was pretty happy with it, so I figured I wasn't going to redo the whole thing for no reason, or just for the sake of doing it all at once. So anyway, so yeah, so this will be blended together. I'll dynamesh these two together soon, probably, but not yet. And Daramone89, I guess, do you want to get blocked or what? Are you able to put your leg behind my head? Like, what? Coding a dynamically generated website. Works fine, just populating it with data. Nice. Cool. You're welcome, Painted Dragon. Next I'll be coding a game. That is in the next 6 hours after I'm done sleeping. Nice. Yeah, I hear that. You been up all night, Alex? Or are you in the US or are you elsewhere? What are you doing with the models after you're finished selling or something else? I'm new here. And whoever's our Russian friend, hello, welcome. Sorry, I can't read your name as I don't read Russian. As far as what does it say? Exik? O Japan? Zero Japan? Um, Japan? Is it Japan? Japan. Japan. What am I going to do with them after? I'm going to 3D print them, and then after that, sure. I mean, I'll probably offer this up as a set that somebody could purchase if they'd like. Yeah. I never made my original one available for purchase, but I guess I will. I should probably sell them as like a set or as two separate ones, you know, that people could purchase. Um, yeah, we'll see. Kenya. Ah, wow. I would like to visit Kenya sometime. I'm very curious about the national parks over there, and yeah, I think it would be cool. It'd be cool to get over there. All subtools are in dynamic sub. No, they're just subdivided up. No dynamic sub right now. Yeah, no, it's all just regular subdivision. No dynamic sub on here. Yeah, it's off. I don't really find too much use for dynamic sub, really. Not really sure of the exact benefits for the work I do, really. Um, it's sad to hear about the animals going extinct. I know. Plus, I hate hearing about just the poachers and the so much of the trophy hunting that still goes on in Africa. That's so sad and upsetting, and such a waste, really. I know some people say, oh, it's auto saving. I know some people say like, well, these hunters give so much money and then they give a lot of the meat back to people, but you could still donate a lot of money and and slaughter other animals that would be less endangered to give meat to people if you really wanted to. It's just an excuse, I think, that people use to justify, or to at least in their mind justify killing beautiful animals like giraffes or lions or elephants. I just think it's so sad that those animals, beautiful animals, are they suffer so much and then they're killed. It's terrible. I'd really love to see them better protected, and just for people to have hunters to grow a conscience and get some sort of compassion. Um, I don't know. I'm of the mindset that if someone can harm a beautiful living creature that's innocent, that's not attacking you, and do it without any kind of remorse or emotion, that something's missing, man. Something's missing in the heart and in the head. Um, like a soul. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's one thing if your life's in jeopardy or your loved one's life is in jeopardy, then yeah, I get it, But if it's just for pleasure, you get joy out of harming something, that's just weird, man. It's something's seriously wrong. To be that disconnected, to be that desensitized, it's really sad for the animal. I love animals. I love nature. As much as I'm doing human characters right now, ironically, I always say I'm far more interested in animals than humans as far as creative work goes. Page here for arms coming down. Okay, here we go. Set up for holding a book. I should have gotten those things to hold books up next to you. How can I do this? I've got too many things on my desk. I probably need to clean this up a little bit more. But a lot of it's like hard drives and other stuff. So it's not like it's all useless. Alright, let's see. There we go. I think that'll work. Let's see here. Have I seen the buzz around the NFTs? What's the NFTs? Sorry. Love your work, Daniel. What was it like creating the giant panda for Dropbox? Looks like an entirely different work than what you're working on here. Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's very different. It was fun. It was very fun. It was one of the easier projects, really. Given pretty good, clean direction, and then kind of just allowed to work on it. We'd go back and forth with a few revisions, and then yeah, and then it was just okayed. The only sad part about that was that it had a really negative launch because some kids, I've told the story before, some kids, and I say kids meaning like 20 somethings, like early 20 somethings who worked at Dropbox, leaked the wrong information. They found an old receipt and that they shouldn't have been looking at in the first place, but they found an old receipt for the Panda and it was over 100K or about that, and that's not what it costed. But then they went and leaked that to the press, and then the press was like, "Oh my God, Dropbox is spending $100,000, which is no large sum of money to a multi-billion-dollar company or even multi-million-dollar company. It's like whatever, 100,000 is nothing." But people are dumb. They don't have any. People are dumb and they aren't wealthy, so they don't know how to manage money. So they don't even understand like, yeah, that's more than a lot of people's annual salary, and that also is a lot of people's annual salary. But that first of all wasn't what it cost, and we got a much lower price. But because of that, for whatever reason, the press decided to start pointing out fingers at Silicon Valley for spending frivolously and spending too much money on all kinds of lavish things that are or just parties, and it's like their money. Who cares? But everyone was just suddenly trying to act as if they had a conscience, and so they would, you know, shame companies that were spending money on things that they shouldn't be, instead of, I don't know, like what, trying to save the world with it. Which, yeah, granted, it'd be nice if they did, but it's like all of a sudden you're gonna start yelling at companies that have never been yelled at before just because it was ridiculous. So that went along with that whole weird wave of finger wagging at Silicon Valley for like whatever it was, like a month, a week, and then everyone's forgotten about it. Like it's not in the news at all, right? It's not talked about at all. But during that time, we just happened to, be in that window and that period of launching, and then these jerks found this receipt and then went out to the public about it. And then everyone was just like, "Oh, now we want to do a story on the panda." And I got contacted by a few magazines, and they're like, "Could you give us a quote? Could you tell us more about it?" I'm like, "What's your slant? What's your take on the story?" "Oh, well, we're going to talk about the terrible spending that Silicon Valley's doing and basically negative press." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to give you my story. No, I'm not going to give you high resolution images. Like, f off." It was so angering because I worked hard on it, and the team all worked hard on it, and the fabricators worked hard on it, and we all were proud of our work in the end. And it costed much. We figured out new materials and different ways to do it, so it was much more cost effective. We weren't using real wood. We were going to actually use real wood in the beginning. It was going to be beautiful as a real hardwood sculpture, but then that was cost too much and it would use too much wood. So we figured let's do something better and use alternate materials. And yeah, so anyway, we made a lot of good decisions and saved the company a lot of money, like 40%. And yet all we got was negative press, and so then everyone was like, let's just not talk about it publicly, and everyone was asked to be quiet for a while and just not say anything. And then after the story died down and all the negativity and everything died down, then nobody really cared. So it was just like, all this hard work for a really beautiful piece, and then nobody really got to chat about it or really gets any nice credit for it. So it was a bummer. It was like bittersweet. Wish I could have caught a break there. But c'est la vie. Such is life. But thank you. I appreciate that you appreciate it. It was a very fun project to work on, and I hope in the future people will look on it as fondly as some of you do now. um, so sad that the last white rhino, Susan died in 2018. Yeah, I heard. Won't be seeing white rhinos anymore. Aren't there any in captivity? Are there any white rhinos in zoos anywhere? And couldn't they clone them? That's what I keep wondering about. Um, Crypto for digital artists. Look into it. I've been hearing about that, like crypto art, right? That's a thing, right? Painted Dragon. I've been getting more and more into crypto, and I just have been. I kicked myself years ago when I heard how far Bitcoin went up, because I remember the day when I was discussing it at a studio I was at previously in Pennsylvania, and all of us were sitting in the room, all the artists, and kind of laughing about how they all thought, and I agreed that. But I was more, they were more the ones who were just like anti, and I was like more like, what do you guys think? Because I'm more the dreamer, the hopeful, the futurist, and I was in Pennsylvania. It's like farm country, so people are more traditional and stodgy and not really, they're not out here. They're not out trying to pursue the big and the big and crazy. They're just happy with just their content little piece of the world, and they weren't really looking into. They just they didn't believe it, and I was like, yeah, you're probably right, I guess. Like idiot me. I should have been like, I'm gonna put in 500 bucks into Bitcoin back in 2012 or 2013, whatever it was, because that would have been smart. Because damn, it's crypto is amazing, and I just wish I would have. I wish there would have been a more clear. I guess I didn't. I didn't. Granted, I didn't seek it out enough, but then I also didn't find a lot of great resources like there are now, where it's just so much more embraced and easily explained and understood and easy to acquire and safely retain. Um, it was a bit more, yeah, underground, I guess, when it came out, and also like looked down upon because they're like, oh, like they had these weird stigmas, like, oh, aren't drug dealers and like corrupt people using that for payment with each other, like, ooh, and it just would always carry this dumb negative. I mean, yeah, but like, yeah, so drug dealers and criminals aren't using regular cash to pay each other. Like, what's your point? Like, duh. Like, oh my god, crypto is horrible because bad people use it. Well, last I checked, bad people use regular money too, as well as debit cards and banks. Hello. Um. Ugh. Money's bad, okay? Ugh. So sometimes you got to trust yourself more than, you don't need validation from all these other people. Sometimes you just got to say, like, screw it. I'm going to do what I think's best and not necessarily confer with a committee. But anyway, naive, dumb younger me. Um, in my area, Amur tigers at the edge of extinction. Oh man, that's sad. Mochi Atomica. This looks awesome. Thanks, man. I mean, it's just anatomy right now. It's just coming together, and some of that's gonna be covered up by the wings. But I still want to just do a good job with the anatomy. But thank you. Yeah, we're getting there. It's coming together. We got liftoff. So just focusing on his anatomy right now, kind of pumping it up, and then gonna move on. And the wings will be repositioned a bit. And I think I'm gonna separate some individual feathers here so you can appreciate a bit more of the anatomy back there. Yeah, the wings are just placeholders right now. They're not at all final stuff. He's gonna get a pair of like 300 underwear like he had in the first piece. It's just it's just not that important as I've made him castrated. Because none of that will be seen. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate it more after the backstory. Great to get your side. Oh, for the panda or what? What's NFTs? NFTs is crypto for digital artists. Is that what you're saying? Sorry, I'm because I'm piecing together from other bits. I wonder whether the human species will ever go extinct or revive the planet. I mean, who knows? I mean, we could go extinct, sure. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I'm not a catastrophist. I don't buy into the extremist views that the world's going to end in 12 years or 10 years, whatever AOC says. That's retarded and it's ridiculous. That's BS. Because they've been saying the same predictions and been saying the same thing. People just have like a short-term memory and like narrow vision to only see like the last couple years that they've been an adult. Go back and look at what they were saying in the 1700s, the 1800s, and even more recently, like the 60s and 70s. They were saying by the year 2020, like New York would be underwater. It's not. Sea levels rise and fall all the time. There's a lot of ebb and flow to climate. Granted, it's not saying we're not doing damage, but how much we are actually affecting the world as humans overall, I argue that we're not able to do as much as people want us to believe. I think a lot of it is a natural flow. We definitely can do damage, but I think as long as I think deforestation's a big issue. I think like we should be planting more trees, and they have planted more trees in record numbers over the last few years. If you look up the numbers for that as well, but But anyway, I don't want to get into a big discussion about it. But yeah, I think in general we should of course be all aiming to do more for the planet that's good than not, of course. And I'm a big supporter of protecting our animals and the environment, but I'm also not going to go to an extreme and act like, you know, someone who's a radical or someone who's fanatical about the sad things we're doing. I think we need to stop them, but I don't think causing panic or trying to tell people they're idiots for not thinking exactly like you do is the solution to helping the planet. I think it's everyone needs to do their part, and yeah. I mean, electric and all that, solar and wind, it's all great, but right now, Texas is having a hell of a time with a lot of their wind turbines not working because it's been frozen over, right? They're not working well. Um, there's pluses and minuses to everything. Like everyone acts like electric is just perfect and clean energy, and I love electric cars. I'm all for Tesla. But I think it's great to help our local atmosphere, like the air we breathe and the animals breathe, and like the local, close to the earth quality of air. It's definitely great. But the irony is that where do you think electricity comes from? Like, hello, it's not just wind and solar. It's actually mostly, fossil fuels. So we can do cleaner burning of that kind of stuff, like natural gas and nuclear. Those are much cleaner to create electricity, and they work better. They're more efficient than solar and wind. But it's not to say that the wind doesn't help at all. I think the turbines, they help when they work. Solar is a cap. If you research how much any solar panel can collect and generate electricity, it's a very finite amount per square foot, and then you can only just expand it. But I think even Elon's gone on record saying that you could have, I forget what it was, the size of a certain city, just have that be all solar panels, and that would be able to supply electricity to pretty much the majority or all of our country, I think. So that's interesting. I don't know why someone hasn't really done that yet. Somewhere out in the desert where there's no, it's like uninhabitable, or it's just so far removed from, a lot of city and that kind of thing. So anyway, I like to walk the line. I'm not hard one way or the other. I think that I think usually the right answer is definitely somewhere in the middle ground, between extremes. I don't think that yelling at either side of the political aisle and just condemning them is going to fix anything. Because I don't think either side, either extreme is right. I think that there's something in the middle that's the better option for everyone. I think when people act as if it's a team sport and they're just trying to root for their team and they want to like destroy the other team, they're idiots. Because that's, I think that I think there's a lot of good people and good intentions and good ideas on both sides, and they're closer to the middle than they think. But then you get the media and you get crazy people, vocal, loud minorities on either side, riling up the people from the middle ground, and they kind of have people go back and forth and kind of flow between those extremes, and that's not good for anybody. So yeah. Anyway, that's my stance, and I'm not saying that just to appease everybody. I just think that's where I stand. I lean more conservative than hard left, I guess you could say, but I see problems on both sides, and I don't think either side was without fault. So anyway, I'm just not a catastrophist. I'm not somebody who's going to scream the sky is falling tomorrow, because I think things are going to change, and I think entropy is a real thing. Like the second law of thermodynamics, things get worse, not better. That's just the natural order of reality. Things decay. The sun is burning out slowly, not that we can't do anything to change negative events to good events, but again, I think the influence that the humankind has to change the whole planet is it seems good. It seems like we can do something, and we should try what we can. But we're still no competition for earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes. I don't think we're causing that so much. I mean, but then there's the other question. It's like looking at China. Can they've gone on record saying they can manipulate the weather and that they're looking to expand that capability. I would love to see more detail about that. Like, how is that possible, and how much have they really succeeded in affecting the climate elsewhere on the planet? you know, to get more insight into that would be interesting. But anyway, so yeah, anyway, whatever. I'm just not a catastrophist, so I'm not somebody's going to be screaming out there like, the world's ending, oh my God. Doesn't, doesn't help. A lot of people who do that, who are in power, are doing that to gain more power and gain more political advantage and money. It's been proven time and time again. A lot of these statistics are created off of computer models, and computer models are not perfect by any means. They're man-made and man-guided, and they've been proven to be wrong a lot of times too. So you got to look at the opposite side of, if you're like on hard on that area, you got to look at the opposite side too, and look at the data, like look at how things have been manipulated and controlled, and who's been the beneficiary. Because a lot of these things, these actions, are not just benign altruistic endeavors. There's a lot of people who make a lot of money and who make a lot of connections and gain a lot of power and influence by choosing certain sides of a fight, and then using science as almost like a religion to excuse certain actions, or to allow inaction or the enacting of certain laws, the certain legislation. So you got to look at the whole picture. You can't just look at things in a vacuum and just assume that, well, this one thing I think is true, so that everything else has to fall into place because of it. You've got to think a little bit critically and question things, not just demonize people who don't agree with you, because then it just becomes a yelling match and an echo chamber for each side, and that doesn't help anybody. Anyway, but these are my opinions, so if you guys want to get angry about it, that's okay. What is crypto art? I'm gonna go there right now. Thanks for the input. Tutorial recommend. I'm gonna do anatomy and ZBrush. Only 12. You appreciate my views on all topics. Thank you. Spot on regarding extremes and middle ground. Thank you. White rhino. 2 female white rhinos left. Oh wow. Yeah, we should clone them. Yeah, exactly. Sudan, not Susan. Yeah, and last male white rhino. Okay, maybe we should mate with a black one. Yeah, something, man. I mean, they should at least take a huge chunk of samples of DNA and whatever they can and do the best they can. That's what they should start doing right now. Cloning stuff is they should start cloning some rhinos, some white rhinos ASAP. You want to see him sculpt some muscles, some muscles. Yes. Anyway, yeah, so we're getting there. I mean, it's looking nice. It's funny when you get focused in one area, you kind of think, it looks okay. But when you step back and look at the whole thing, you start to realize, like, yeah, it's looking pretty good. Maybe soften some areas. A common thing that a lot of artists do, both young and old, is, and sometimes they're art directed too, so don't always blame them for this, is that you'll see muscles that look so defined in every single area, and it's like they're having a seizure or some sort of like contraction. It's constriction of the muscles, which the body never does. Granted, this is also like fantasy, myth, and the comic book heroes are the same thing, a modern version. So, but generally you don't have all muscles contracted all at once, so you're going to have areas that are more relaxed and a little bit smoother. Excuse me, even if you're a bodybuilder, still, it's pretty hard to contract all the muscles at the same time. I mean, it's to really flex them all, it's almost impossible, really. So you can just get some good definition, but if areas that are being relaxed, you're just going to have a smoother surface and a much more gentle flow to the topology, to the planes. And so, here some of these areas would be tight, though, because in this case, his actions would dictate that. Oh, jeez, zooming out too much. His actions would dictate his body motion. He's pulling, so the muscles will contract here, stay tight and taut to pull up weight. And that, of course, would transition into the back. And, of course, then he's also holding his arm up, so there's a certain level of contraction in the deltoid. And then, of course, on your latissimus dorsi and your trapezius and your what's the other one? The soleus? Is that not soleus? That's my calf. Jeez, what is this one called again? I forget. It's the obliques, right? Lateral. What is it? The lateral obliques, or what was it? sternocleidomastoid. That's right. Sternocleidomastoid. I always forget that one. It's a great name. That's that one that they put, is that right? Seems like, oh, sternocleidomastoid's like up at the top. Wait, is that right? It's up at the top here. Yeah. Okay. So I thought that was trapezius. Where is the trapezius then? Trapezius is number 2. Okay. So interesting. It's been a while since I've really gotten deep into anatomy. And they also didn't do a great job of marking up some of these illustrations. Okay, now the trapezius is there, and then sternocleidomastoid is... Yeah, it's got to be on the other side. All right, so why do they have that? Dang, the 2 almost looks like a 1. Bizarre. Yeah, sternocleidomastoid is here. Yeah, duh. Yeah, sternocleidoid. Yeah. Duh. So yeah, I was right. Trapezius is, yeah, I was right. Yeah. Derp. Guessing myself. Yeah. Anyway. Derp. It's been so long since I've looked at these muscles. I'm like confusing things. And they also draw really tiny illustrations. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, sternocleidomastoid. It's this thing. So when you turn your neck, sternocleidomastoid. Trapezius is this area back here. And then you've got your lats, your obliques. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, sternocleidomastoid is right here. But yeah, this is the trapezius area. Anyway, art should be free. Well, in a way it is. Frank Frazetta just turned in his or muscle count. Yeah, right. Hilarious. That's why we call it Pencil Tucky. Wait, what? Art should be free. That's what. Sorry, Robert. I'm missing the connection here. About Pencil Tucky, about my comment about crypto earlier. Is that what you mean? Yeah, Pencil Tucky is. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's quaint over there. I don't want to be too negative, but I'm definitely just I'm happier not being there. I feel like I'm where I belong. We should name the muscles that Frazetta invented in his paintings after him. That's funny. Deltoid, right? noise. Um, yeah, brilliant. Paradoxically, there's entropy in science and technology. All physics calculations are based on the principle of uncertainty. Chemistry and biology builds from physics. So we're wrong in most assertions. This is true. This is true. Everything collapses, sadly. Everything comes down to we're all headed toward the great zero, right? The great absolute zero. The ceasing of vibration of all particles. It's eventuality. It's just a matter of a long amount of time. What area of the body do you find to be the most challenging to sculpt? For me, it's the feet, without a doubt. Good question. I mean, mm, I don't know. I don't do a lot of humans to begin with, so the whole thing's a little bit challenging. Like, yes and no. I mean, it's like I can do it, and it's just a matter of referencing the right books and the right, pictures, and it's kind of like paint by numbers. Um, I don't know. I don't know that I have one area. I mean, I think the face can be very challenging. I think that's always an interesting challenge. I mean, I can do likenesses just fine too, but I think that yeah, I think the face is definitely one of the most challenging. Hands too. Hands and face, the most expressive parts. I think the ones we see the most are hands and our faces. I think those are the hardest, probably the most challenging overall. Um, but even so, I mean, when you start with a good base mesh, that helps a lot. Um, so that there's always that. And I think with the availability of so many good base meshes and near completed meshes, really, I mean, you could say they're complete as they are out there available to download, you know, everybody should have good human figures now because you have such access, either free or relatively very affordable or cheap. You can all get really great anatomy references or great, human figures and then work off of that. So I don't think that there should be too much of a challenge. I mean, it's good to know, like, it's like anything. Like, it's nice to be able to sculpt in traditional clay, but I mean, again, with just I mean, if it's a human thing, a humanoid, you've got so much great reference already out there that it's almost kind of dumb to not start with that and then make it into whatever you want because you can smooth it out, you can manipulate it however you need to, but to sculpt from scratch, it's nice, but it's kind of ancient at this point. Really, it's great. I appreciate it. I know a bunch of guys who are traditional sculptors. But when it comes to like speed and then also creating variants, or making rapid adjustments, it's generally faster and easier to do it with CG in the computer than it is to physically edit a model. Um, so I think I think we're already there, but I think in the near future we're gonna have more. We're gonna look at sculpting as more of like a fun pastime or something pleasant to do to relax, or it's just the older way of doing things. But so much is gonna be more about the finer points, the finer details, like or large gross customization of certain things. But there's just so much good available reference and models out there now that I strongly feel like there's not much of an excuse for bad anatomy out there at this point. I think that there's so much great reference and so much available. So anyway, I'm repeating myself, but yeah. I'm just using a combination here of the /3 and the form soft and move. Those are the main three that I'm using currently. It's funny. Frank Rosetta's rolling in his grave. I know. His death dealer, man. Everybody knows the death dealer. The most difficult part to sculpt is the brain. Funny. What are the most common anatomy mistakes people make? Oh, tons. Depends what part of anatomy you want to talk about. Top 5 brushes. Well, you're looking at them right down here. These are my top, whatever, 12. But top 5, I mean, so yeah, it would be, of course, standard. Move topological. I mean, move is very important too, but move topological because you can get more precise in vertices. I mean, probably form soft, even over the clay buildup. Clay buildup's nice, but if I had to pick between those two, form soft. /3 for sure. And I don't know then. I mean, all of these are kind of like equally on the lower rung for me because I don't use them as much. But maybe inflate, I guess. You know. But yeah, these are my 12 go-tos really. But another one that I found at times I use even more, I'm not even more, but I mean almost as much as some of those, is the ZProject. I use ZProject a significant amount. I also use like Smooth Strong, which ironically is not in here, but sometimes when you have a higher density mesh, Smooth Strong is just regular smooth amplified a lot. It helps a ton. Also, the extractor brushes are pretty awesome. I've used them a couple times. I have to always look up again how to properly use them because I don't use them a lot. But when I have used them, I'm like, wow, this is really useful. I should do it more often, but I don't need to do it more often. So I have to force myself to or do a refresher to use those properly again. Also, the ZModeler brush. I mean, I don't really. It's not really a brush to me though. It's like a mode, right? It's another mode of box modeling and topology editing. But I use that a ton. Absolutely. Yeah, Matchmaker can be very useful too when you need to project something against something else. But yeah, I mean those are my big ones. Yeah. So like his hand is pretty soft here still. I mean, it looks okay, but it's really not defined enough yet. So I'm gonna have to focus on that here soon. They're both of their hands, you know, her hands really like ugh, I don't really like. It looks too like webby and pointy with the nails and everything. I think I did more work on her other hand here, which it feels a bit more. I feel better about. I'm not 100% happy with it, but I think it's good enough. Um, you know, it feels a little bit more proper, but a bit more correct. I'm happier with that. I still feel like the palm's a bit big and the fingers are a bit skinny. Like I almost want to maybe fatten up the or thicken the fingers a little bit, just a little bit. And maybe pull in, you know, maybe I'll just pull this in a little bit more. And it could be even just that wrist looking a little too thick. Just like certain wrists don't come in a bit. It's like cankles where you just have like the calf goes into the ankle and there's no like elegant like, you know, constriction of the muscles and the tendons and then they envelop around the ankle joint bones. Excuse me. I had black beans with some eggs this morning, so got the burps. Uh, so yeah, there's that where I think there's if you want to talk about like ideal proportions and a beautiful anatomy, I think there should be some you know pinching there is a little bit of a delineation between where the wrist bones end and where the hand begins, not just go from like arm to hand like a tube. So there should be that bit of pinching there. So yeah, little things like that. So yeah, go back to his hand here, I guess. And let me just adjust something on my music. Well, we're about at 3. It's gonna go for a few minutes longer, and then we're gonna keep going on to Keanu, Mr. Reeves. What else? Would that be a forest? Yeah. Yeah, I guess that'd be a forest, just like a cankle. Yeah, exactly. So we're not staring at his butt the whole time. So we have to remember it's whoa. Actually, I'll do this. Let's just select his arm and her arm. No, oops. There we go. I love how expressive hands can be, though. I think it's always cool to see great sculptures of hands doing dynamic gestures. Coffee time. What is your sculpting brew? I'm not sure what that means. I mean, I'm drinking coffee, yeah. It's a mocha latte. It's almond milk, chocolate almond milk mixed with coffee from Trader Joe's. Love it. Kind of a chocoholic though. I dark chocolate though, primarily. Or chocolate with peanut butter is great. But I'm a bit lactose intolerant, so milk chocolate doesn't really agree with me all too much. I miss cafes. I miss being able to go to one. Not that I go all the time, but I used to go a lot when I was younger. And I mean, in the last like decade, I've definitely slowed down. But it's funny, I'd slow down so much from like I work so much at home, and like I could be doing this outside somewhere when it's not like an NDA project. It's just a personal piece, or just something that's not secretive. I could do it out at a cafe, and so I was starting to do that a little bit more before we came into the situation we're all in now. And I miss it. I miss being semi-social, doing the work that I need to do, but then also kind of being around people and just saying hello to random people now and then. Or the cute girl would happen to sit down next door to me. We'd strike up a conversation sometimes and chat it up. it was just nice just to be able to, meet people that way and just see your neighbors sometimes, your community, and just be around people a little bit. I miss that. I think all of us need a bit more healthy human interaction now more than ever. I hate the whole online. I hate online dating. I hate online socialization because it just always devolves into things that are more negative, or dating apps are like shopping for a person. I hate that. I love like real human connection. Striking up face-to-face conversations, or even a phone call. I mean, like speaking with someone vocally is so much nicer than text. I'm old school. I'd rather call somebody a lot of times than text. But I know a lot of younger whippersnappers. They like to text more than anything. And granted, it's convenient too because you can leave it on their phone and then people can get to it when they have time. But I still like good old-fashioned face-to-face conversations. A lot of things. So common things I see that are wrong that I'm going to try to fix here is with anatomy. It's when flesh is interacting, you don't see a lot of the pressure points, the indentation of skin affecting skin, flesh on flesh. You don't see that as much, and that'll bring an extreme amount of realism and life to something. Where otherwise here it might just feel like two stone things like just gripping each other, but there's not that compression happening of the tissues. And so here it's just a matter of careful, you know, decisions of how to, because I need this to be sealed. I need this to be together. That's the other thing here is I need this to be pretty structurally sound, so that I can use this as a major anchor for weight distribution for the print. Not that it's going to be that much weight, but this is also not a lot of material. I mean, there's a very thin connection here. So I want this to be rather a little bit more robust, so that there's a bit of strength there for reinforcement for the whole piece. But I'll probably have to get to that another time because we're about at the hour mark for this guy. So probably gonna bounce off of this before I get too heavy into the hands and whatnot. I remember last time I downloaded a alpha for Knuckles, and I'm trying to remember where I put that. Did I put it in the Cupid folder? Yeah, I did. Sweet. Because I remember I used that on her, I think, on her hand. But I don't want that for the move brush. I want it for standard. There we go. Yeah, I forget where I got it, but I think it was free, or if not, if it wasn't, I downloaded it for like a few dollars. I think off of like ArtStation. Honestly, I can't remember, but just Google Knuckle Alphas, either on ArtStation or like could also be maybe on Flip Normals. One of those major art sites, I believe, is where I found it. And I remember it's just cheap. You could also just photograph your own knuckles. Pardon me, and photograph your own knuckles and use that as reference. This is almost too harsh. Like I'm gonna do a little bit of a blur. It's a little too crisp. Even then, I might still smooth it out. I still want them to feel like stone. I don't want them to feel like you just painted a human being. You know what I mean? Like just painted them white, and then they have all this like pore detail and everything. And so I don't want it to get too like super hyper detailed. Plus, it's just more work too. But this helps. Like that smoothed out, I think looks great. See, like even this can just give me landmarks, and I'll smooth it out a little bit overdone, and then come in with slash and use these as nice reference landmarks to kind of make my own variant on this wrinkle. So that I can just kind of follow these and continue them and look at my own wrinkles here and say like, well, how many do I really have on my last joint on my phalange, my index finger. And smooth some of this out, bring back the fingernail. You know, so everyone's fingernails are a little different. So, you know, just look at your own or reference, you know, someone's that you find pleasing. Can I photograph your fingernails? I really like the way that your cuticles look. That's not weird. That looks a little like a thumb here. See, so I gotta like bring this down a little bit. That's a little too bulging of an index knuckle. And it went through. Went through the other side. Not that anyone will really see much of that, but still. That's better. Yeah, it's probably a little too flat now. Lost some dimensionality. Yeah, it's looking better. All right, so we're gonna move on to Keanu now. But at least got part of that finger done. And bring this back. Her back. And I think turn on most everything. Let's go from the top down. That's the, is this the right head? Yeah. No, it's the old head. There's the new head. And turn everything back on. Wait, are these her eyes? No. Where are those? Whose are those eyes? Is that from previous model? Interesting. All right. Oh wait, don't want that. Wait, why do I still have that? All right, I'm gonna delete some of these. This is like version umpteen. Do I need that? It's been so long since I looked at these other layers. There's some stuff here I should just delete. I don't think I need that, but I have it saved in another version anyway, so if I need it, I can go back and get it from a previous version. These are single-sided. Okay, so these are the original. Yeah, don't need all these because I have them saved in another version. And then that's an older version of her, I think. Or is this like a triangulated? This is the Dynameshed. So wait, what's the difference? Oh, I think this was older and this is newer? Yeah. Yeah, and this was changed a bit too. Alright, so I don't need 3 versions of her. Alright, so I have those on other versions of this file. Delete. right. And delete those extra eyes. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit cleaner, so now I can just confidently turn everything on and off. Guess I don't need the old head now either. So delete that. There we go. Okay. Now I gotta be careful because it just hit always accept the delete instead of giving me a double check. So I might want to restart. Oh wait, where's his bow? There we go. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. Save. Yes, replace. Alright. Actually, I think I might restart ZBrush quickly because I did that changing of the delete command. But let me quick save here. And then I'll load up, switch over to Keanu. Found a Frank Frazetta Paradox only online jigsaw puzzle. It's like sculpting. Jigsaw puzzles are like sculpting or painting. I'll play it later. A good alpha pack on Gumroad for $3 with Knuckles for anyone with chat. Nice. Thanks for posting that. How are you jumping through polygroup subtools so effortlessly? I was just clicking on them. I don't know. I was just doing this, turning on polyframe, and then just going down, just clicking on these different groups. That's all I was doing. You know, or if you're meaning like on screen, you just hold Alt and click on wherever you want, and that'll jump right to your subtool. So if I hold Alt, click on this wing, boom, I'm there. Hold Alt, click on his arm, boom, I'm right there. So that's a fast way to switch between subtools if you want to figure out what's what. It's a great handy way of doing it. So I'm going to restart ZBrush here quickly. Like with a single click. Oh, yeah, there you go. You're welcome. Oh yeah, so you can see here, you can see Mr. Jackson. So for those of you who may not know, a fun little project that I worked on that came out during the Super Bowl, and now you might see the commercial everywhere. Apparently, my friends are saying it's playing on TV a lot. So my friends who are older neighbors who watch traditional TV and media still. There's a new Verizon commercial that I worked on for the Super Bowl. I designed, or I sculpted Mr. Jackson, Samuel L. Jackson, for the commercial, and it was really fun to work on it. I'm not sure I can do it with audio because I'll probably get like a copyright strike on the video, but I can show you, I guess, a clip. So this is the commercial I worked on. I did the whole model texture, Sam Jackson. I was given a facial scan to start with, but that was unusable for animation, so I had to redo everything basically, which was great though. So it was great reference. It's very common. It's what they will do for a lot of places. If they have a scan, they'll give you a scan, and that's what you start with. It's usually almost always needs cleanup of some type. But yeah, this was the commercial I worked on, and he was the only character I did fully. I touched and worked on a bunch of other technical aspects for Juju, who you're going to see right here. But a buddy of mine is the artist who sculpted Juju. But I had to do a lot of other technical loose ends, you know, just like clean up some areas, UV some areas, delete some extra subtools, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and I worked on these two guys very little bit too, just little things here and there. But yeah, this was fun to work on. It was cool to actually see it all finished and in motion. There he is at the end. So that was a recent project I did. It was cool. I'll be honest, like I don't know who did the animation, but I know they did mocap. So Sam Jackson was in a mocap suit and did all the acting and voiceover and all that for this commercial. The only thing that seemed off to me was the lighting seems kind of weird. A weird choice. I would have chose the sun to be more on the opposite side, so it'd be more on his face, you know, and a bit more warm light, I think, than such a weird kind of. It's magic hour, but it's a little too white. I think magic hour should be a little bit more orange or yellow, a little bit more romanticized, a bit more purple. Just like I would have punched up personally, my personal preference. I would have punched up the colors more and made the light a little bit more of a rotated it from its side back angle to more front view, and on him. And the facial animation, I don't know who did that or what. I don't think they facial captured his voiceover. And if they did, they needed to do a lot more like articulation, I think, for the face. Just my opinion. So, but that's all out of my hands. I'm just the modeler, and I handed off a good mesh to them. So it's on someone else that did that. And no offense to whoever did it. If they ever see this, I don't think they will. But I just wish that that would have been a little bit better. But a lot of times there's a tight deadline, so you can only do so much work in a short amount of time before you have to just call it done, even though you may not be happy with it. So I don't know what kind of constraints or schedule they had on their end, but I know I was pushed to the minute, up to the last minute, and then handed it off and said goodbye. So anyway, now I'm just looking for my reference for Neo. Where's my matrix folder? There it is. All right, so even though I'm using a scan here as a reference point, so this is from, for those who don't know, this is from Cyberpunk. So this is the most recent scan of Keanu that's probably out there that people can access. I think you can find it on DeviantArt, unless they've taken it down. I don't know, but they ripped the model from the game, and I bought the game like on my PS4 and for my PC, so I've paid for the game twice. So we all own this model. If you own Cyberpunk, you actually own it. It just it's hard to access these models. But if you can rip it, or if you can access it easily, I mean, use it as a learning tool. Just don't claim to ever have done the work, because people will know, But yeah, this is such great reference for what I'm doing. So, and I could just retopo it, but I already had a model going, and it was nice to be able. If you go to my previous couple streams, you'll see I've compared what I'd modeled to what the scan actually is, and it definitely was off in some areas. But I also hadn't worked on this in months, and I wasn't at all like, oh, it's done. I was like in the middle of it. So in my defense, I was pretty close. I mean, not super close, but not very far off actually. Like my eyes were a little too far back in the orbital sockets, and the ears and the temples of the head were just a little bit too, I think, back and out, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit. So it was a little off, but not too much. So I was proud of that. The back of the head, I think, was out here too, and I need to push that inward. So anyway, but yeah, so it was close. It was fun. So now I've just been kind of matching things up, and I think I could probably do some projection now and see how things go. But certain areas like this that are really tight, I wouldn't do that, because they would just pull polygons through each other, and that can be really annoying. So I'm just kind of gonna use the move brush here to pull some areas up and down a little bit. Right. So he's also going to be making a scowl, because I'm using... So I'm doing this scene from... I'm going to be doing a statue, basically, of this scene from The Matrix. The penultimate moment here, where he gets his third kick in there, and it's just like lamb-blasts this guy's face. So the statue is going to be like Cupid. The leg is going to be supported really by connecting with the guy's face. And so that'll be fused to there. So that'll be impacting him. He's going to be doing the whole like, and that'll be fused there. And then his body will be like the rest of the supporting pillar, so to speak, for point A. And then point B, I'm going to have to make a little bit of creative license, take a little bit of creative license, and use his, I keep wanting to say cape, but it's trench coat. And connect the trench coat flowing backward into the pillar behind him. So I won't have a second pillar, I think, but it'll just be like a whole piece that'll have a bit of floor, of course, to be like underneath them, to have the guard's feet based into it, and his coat will be connecting to the pillar to hold his body up there, and then I'll have to create him as a completely hollow, piece, so that the thin coat and the and I'll have to cheat a little bit too, or maybe the coat it'll be thin, but it'll still be flowing in a way where enough of it comes into contact, it can be fused to the pillar, so that we have an A structure basically. So you have the coat against the pillar and the guy's face and the leg and all that thick solid pieces that connect down to the bottom. So it's a nice 2-character piece as well in the end. But the biggest factor is getting his look right, getting the likeness right. So this is the facial expression I'm really going for from the Matrix. And let me get that back. Matrix, if you can't tell from the poster behind me, definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably number 2 on my list. So I'm going for this expression as opposed to the one that's actually in the shot, because as I've said in previous streams, it feels a little too... We always make funny expressions when we're doing different tasks and we never think about it, but I feel like his expression here is just, it's a little too funny. It's a little too extreme of like, so rather than it being like open and a little too like strained downward, go for a bit cleaner, cooler, strained face, which this definitely is in my opinion. So very similar, same angle of the face and the chin and all that. So I think it transitions very well to be in this piece as opposed to that facial expression. And his hands, I mean that's so blurred, but definitely like they're in fists. And I think I might just adjust the arm movement, the arm motion, and his wrist definitely seems like it's like really at a funny angle a little bit. So I might just, instead of pulling it back as it is, sort of like, I think it's kind of, I don't know, it's sort of like, it's like pulling inward like this as opposed to out or just straight. And I think I might just keep it just a little bit perfected, just little adjustments. Just to kind of glorify that pose, but I want it to be very, super close to this. Yeah, and the leg will be making full contact, because here he's about to strike, and then the next shot is, the next shot is a tight one, which is, I'll show you here, which is this one. So you never got to see that wide shot of him making the hit, because they cut in really hard here. And then the next frame is him landing like a badass, and it looks awesome, but I really want it to be this moment. So this is where the leg will have to actually be almost like we'll have to take this and rotate it down a little bit, and then rotate his body up a little bit, so it's more, he's higher up, and it's really coming down at like this angle, as opposed to almost like completely horizontal. Which again is why they were cropped in here, is because, they wanted it to be a tight shot in here, and I think he didn't get as high up when he made contact. Or looked like he made contact. That's often why they shoot like this too. When things are making punches, you'll see them either from behind, or either from behind or in front, sort of the person, or like from the side. Because you're always doing fake punches. Usually, you're trying not to really hit the person in the head, especially. So you'll often see things that look like they make contact, or they'll swing at somebody, but of course they're missing. But since you have forced perspective, so you're looking here and you're following from their fists is like the camera, their fist in the face, and so it always looks like, or it'll come to the side, and then right before they cut to another angle, and then they'll actually miss, but they add the sound effect, and of course it looks and sounds like they really hit someone in the face. So here, that's probably what they did, obviously, or came close to it. And I forget. I think I remember hearing someone talking about this, and that he actually might have hit the guy a bit in the head because of the helmet. But there's always accidents, of course, too, in fights, choreography, where I know he said that him and Hugo Weaving definitely made contact a bunch of times during that fight scene in the subway. They're like second to last. Is that second to last fight? Yeah, because then he runs from there, and then they get into the big last fight, which is in the hallway of the hotel. I remember for a while, I don't know how many years I watched. I don't remember. It's embarrassing to admit, but I don't remember how many years I watched The Matrix and didn't connect that, or forgot somehow that the hotel at the end is the same hotel in the very beginning where Trinity is. But a little tidbit for those who may, like me, have not remembered or noticed that. In the very beginning of The Matrix, you open up with Trinity being assaulted by these police officers in this in this hotel, this beat up hotel, and that room she's in is the exact same room that they're telling Neo to go to get out of the Matrix when he's running in the last scene of the Matrix. That's the same room she was in, and I think that's where it makes sense. And that's why Smith looked at the hotel because he was there in the very beginning of the movie, and at the end he walks in and he looks at the hotel, and they show him looking up rather than chasing after Neo. He goes to the room first because he knows where Neo's going to be. So, or guest, you know, so that's why he's there before, and he gets in the door and there's Smith. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen The Matrix about 30 years ago. Sorry. I hope I didn't spoil it for anybody. It's such a great movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's amazing. Just the first one. Don't bother with the last two. They're nothing by comparison. So some of the adjustments I'm gonna have to make here are like he's making a sneer, right? So there's the nose is moved up, and the mouth is moved down, and slightly open. So there's definitely gonna be some adjustments that I have to make there on the face. So yeah, just kind of lining things up here to kind of see, you know, where we are, and I think that's as close as I could probably get. It's about right. Maybe a little bit more down. Get that chin to match. But his mouth is open, so his jaw may be a bit lower anyway. So anyway, sorry, I'm missing a little bit of the chat. Amazing stuff. Oh, thank you. Really interested how you sculpt the hair. Oh, I mean, I had crappy hair on him from a while. This was just a, again, placeholder. I haven't done this, haven't touched this hair in like months, and even then I wasn't, it was just a placeholder. But bloop. There's the hair. Uh it's just let me save this camera angle. So now we can come back to that. So that gives you an idea of like how misplaced the head was as far as where it was in 3D space. So like everything was back. It was also physically back a bit further. So if I move the hair up, let's see how far off the hair is for the rest of the skull. I mean, not that far. It's just like the back. This back here is really kind of what's like making it look dumpy, you know, like odd, because it really would have to be more like this ish. Put transparency on. So it's probably more. And then here you can see the head was pushed in a bit more here. For some reason, I had the temple like you got a punch to the side of the head. I don't know why. So that should be out here a little bit more, but it wasn't tremendously off. You know what I mean? There's not like massive difference. Anyway, again, placeholder, not at all final hair, just reference. It still looks kind of weird. And I think this needs to come up a bit, and this needs to go back. Maybe this needs to be lessened a little bit. It's probably still a little too floofy. It's the technical word for puffyish hair. It's too floofy. It has too much volume. A little too much blowout. A little too much hair dryer. Yeah, I think that's looking more correct. Let's go back to the right camera angle. Turn this on. So, oh, no, actually. Interesting. Oh, we don't have perspective on either. That's a deal there too. But it's probably a longer lens, it looks like. So let's go to like, let's do 80 focal length. Once you get it past like 100 something, it compresses the face so much it almost looks orthographic, you know? So it's almost like what we had before. Let's go to 100 millimeter lens. Bring that up in the back. Oh, so sorry for those who asked about sculpting the hair, though. I mean, it's really just taking like the rake brush or a regular brush, like standard, and using a an alpha. I'll show you guys, and just using that as like a comb brush, essentially, to kind of just create strands of hair, clumps of hair. Excuse me. It's a very traditional like sculptor way of doing it. Um, and there isn't much of a workaround right now with 3D printing unless you get a crazy, if access to like an insanely advanced 3D printer where they have some that can actually burn, like can actually like, sinter fibers like a brush, like a toothbrush, but like a really dense toothbrush. It's out there. You can look it up. I forget what it's called or where I saw it, but I remember just snapshotting that years ago and sending it to my friends at Form Labs and being like, "Can we get the Form Labs printers to do this?" And they're like, "Oh, that's a tall order," because it's several magnitudes beyond what I've seen as far as like getting fibers like that close to each other yet completely separate. I mean, it really was almost like hair, that was just like super dense until you rubbed your finger against it and then you'd see the bristles separate. Just like a toothbrush, but like denser. Crazy. Once we get to that point and you can have them all. See, that's the other thing, is how would you curve them? Just like even the feathers on my Trico statue, I had to have a bunch of supports to eventually, when they're not just all pointing downward, but they're curved slightly, after a certain point, if they curve around past like 80 degrees and 90 degrees, you've got to have support meet them so that it all prints, as it's going layer by layer, it all prints accurately. Unless we have like, there's this volumetric kind of printing that's they're talking about now where you have like points of light kind of zero in from all angles. So it's suspended in like a jelly or like a gel, and the light burns only at a certain point within the box. And so you could actually then have support free three-dimensional resin like prints printed in like a jelly. It's really cool. It's amazing. Sort of the next level of 3D printing, but that won't be. I think they're really struggling to have it even be stable at like a very small scale, which is always how it starts. It'll get bigger and bigger as they perfect it. So maybe in another 10 years, 20 years from now, we'll probably have desktop volumetric 3D printers where you have like a tank, like a fish tank of jelly, and then all these like 3 or 4 lasers that just zap specific points as it sort of spins it, and then you have your model appear that way, which would be freaking awesome. But that's definitely like future tech. That's down the road, but not here right now. So yeah. Always looks kind of funny from certain angles, but whatever. Creative license. The hair can be manipulated a little bit still to get it just right. So with the 100mm lens, I got to shrink this down a little bit to match up the angle again. So I'll make that custom lens 2, custom camera 2. Okay, so we're going to do at least the nose and the mouth here, kind of get those adjusted, and maybe I'll make some sunglasses so it looks a little less weird and looks a little bit more accurate. And then we'll probably call it a day by the time that's done. But what else are we saying here? So I have some facial form questions actually relevant to what you're doing. Okay, Hannibal. Go for it. Hopefully I can answer. Very anatomy specific. It's a good base for the hair. Don Cachet. You ready for the question? I'm ready, Hannibal. Fire away. The hair really makes the face come together. Yeah, it helps a lot, really. It's interesting how simple things like that really, if I was referencing his shots from when he just woke up from the Matrix, where he's completely shaven, this would match really well. But considering he has hair in every other scene, yeah, it sort of helps a lot. Even though it's not at all finalized, it just really, brings the face together, like you said, definitely. Yeah, and the sunglasses will help a lot too, but because he doesn't have eyeballs yet. Anyway, okay, so Mouth is slightly open, and nose is definitely being scrunched. Just a bit. It's actually not extreme. So, let's just take our move brush and maybe drop this down another subdivision level. Oh, whoops, that's the hair. Derp. And there we go. Actually, I might just mask the nose so we don't wind up moving too much of the rest of the face. Have you guys seen, I've asked this in other streams, but for those who haven't been here before, have you guys seen Keanu's, Terran Tactical videos? Holy crap, man. His, gun skills are awesome. Definitely a fan of the range, but I've never been to Terran's place yet. But I'd like to go. I think it'd be awesome. I just think it's so cool because the level of training Keanu's gone through with weapons training is superior to what a lot of other people have done, because it's a lot of real live firing. You know, he's using real guns, real bullets, not just blanks and Hollywood, you know, shooting. He really knows how to train with three guns. It's awesome. Rifle, shotgun, handgun, and I'm sure many others. Yeah, the guy's like a legit badass now with weapons, man. It's awesome. I've shot pretty much every major type of gun in the past, especially when I lived in Pennsylvania. It's just, you know, countryside, so like we go out in the woods and just fire away. But here in Cali, got to go to the range, so been there a bunch of times. It's fun, a lot of fun. So I'm just blurring the mask and then inverted it, and now we're gonna go back to that camera angle and make those slight adjustments. So like nostrils flaring out a little bit on his left, our right. And yeah, it's just gonna bring it up a little bit. You know, tighten up and accurately kind of move the compressed muscles and veins in the face there to match a little bit better. But yeah, we're almost there already. I mean, it's pretty close. And it's, you know, more of the fun stuff will be like the body and the pose and all of that, the clothes, the guns. I mean, he doesn't have any guns in the shot, but I might have like an Uzi that's sort of bouncing on the ground, because in the shot he has two Uzis, and then he empties the last magazine and chucks them both down as he like jumps up to do the triple kick. So they'd be bouncing on the floor behind him. So I'll probably have like one, like, I don't know, in the corner against the pillar and the floor, and then the dude who's killing with the blow to the head. He's got I think like an M16 or something, an assault rifle, which isn't a rifle in his hands. So what was the question about the face anatomy, facial anatomy? Do you mind to share a bit did how did you get into a Verizon ad? Oh yeah, sure. A friend recommended me. That's the short of it. A friend recommended me for the gig. They knew I was looking for some work, and he said, "Are you looking for work?" I did, yeah. And he's like, "Okay, well, I have this gig. Really don't really feel like doing it because I've had a lot of other work and I'm just tired, need a break. I'll recommend you if you like." And I said, "Great." They checked out my work, said, "Cool, you know what you're doing. Here's the gig." I said, "Awesome, looking forward to it. Let's get cracking." Signed a bunch of paperwork. And there you go. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not just telling you guys the 3 points I always tell you, which is like, be excellent at what you do, be good with people, meaning be likable, and know how to have conversations about everything else in life, and then be lucky, which is making your own luck, right? Luck favors the prepared. So be ready, have your excellent work ready to show. It's concise and clear, and If you're likable and you work hard, people know your work and they like you, you'll get recommended for things, you know. Um, yeah, so it's very simple. I mean, it sounds simple. There's a lot of work that goes in behind it, but it's still those main 3 points, is what I would say, and that's because that's how my life goes. um, um, so what tablet do I use? I'm using the right now I'm using a Mobile Studio Pro Cintiq. So it's actually a full computer, but I'm not running this off of that. This is just when you jack in your Mobile Studio Pro into your PC, it acts as just a regular Cintiq. So it's a 16-inch diagonal Cintiq. It's awesome. I love it. And when I want to work away from this desk, I want to go sit on my couch and watch a movie and just casually sculpt something, or get some projects done that need to be done, but I just don't want to be sitting or standing here at my desk. I just disconnect this, transfer whatever files onto a USB drive, put them in the USB drive, upload them onto my Mobile Studio Pro, and just work anywhere. I could go outside and work on it, or I could just sit on the couch or whatever, lay in bed and work on it. It's great. Yeah, so I love it. Yeah, but that's the tablet I'm using, the Cintiq. Um, when do you go to the range? When you go to the range, do you fire real bullets? Do they provide? Yes, of course. Yes, yes. They provide you everything. They provide you a whole array of different guns you can choose from, and then they give you, of course, the ammo. You have to, of course, they give you some basic training. They get your information. They get your driver's license. They do, a background check and all that stuff, I think, before you're ever permitted to handle weaponry. So they make sure you're not a felon. They make sure you're not, a warrant out for your arrest or anything. And once they verify that you're a law-abiding citizen, then you're allowed to choose your weapon. You pay for the ammo, of course, and then you pay for the time, and then you get your earplugs, your gear if you don't have earplugs with you, and then or you can bring your own gun if you are a gun owner. You can, bring it in locked in a case and all that, securely, and then they check you in and do the whole same process, and then they let you in the range, and you get usually an hour. But I think with COVID and having to separate people by 6 feet or more, you're allowed like a half hour, I think. And they give you even like targets, so you can choose your different kind of targets. You can get targets that have like a terrorist or a criminal holding a gun to like a person's face. So it's almost like a movie. You have to, friends and I will go and we go shooting, and you know, some days it'd be really good and we only hit the terrorist. Other times it's bad and you hit the lady he's got the gun to, and you're like, oh no, I shot the hostage. To quote to quote Speed, if you guys have seen the Keanu's movie Speed, shoot the hostage. So yeah, that's always a fun challenge. And it's always fun to try out different guns, but there's definitely a few brands that I lean more toward. Glocks are okay. I wish I liked Glocks more because I know they're very reliable, but I kind of like Berettas and Sig Sauers a bit more. Um, but I like the way they feel a bit more. But the double action is kind of weird because it's like a compression of the trigger where it reaches a point where you think it should fire, but it hasn't gone yet. You have to pull it all the way down and then squeeze it all the way back, and then it fires. So that's take a little getting used to. Desert Eagles are cool, but they jam a lot apparently, which is a bummer. But I love Desert Eagles too. Those are handguns, Shotguns, I mean, you got all your Benelli's great, your Remingtons are classics. There's so many. And then rifles, I mean, like the Scar H is awesome. AR-15s are nice. They really don't have much recoil. It's like surprisingly light recoil by comparison with the stock and everything. You really don't feel it. It's awesome. And they get a bad rap just because people stigmatize them so much as like deadly weapons. I mean, all guns are deadly, and AR-15s are not much different than any other rifle out there. It's like people want to ban AR-15s. Well, there's a bunch of other rifles that work exactly the same. They just look different. People are just dumb. People don't understand guns. Most of the people who are like anti-gun and like, oh my god, strip everything, they don't know. They don't know shit about guns, and they don't know anything about how hard it is to acquire them in some states like California. Everywhere you have to get a background check. You can't just like go in and just walk out with a gun without them knowing if you're a felon or not. It's the federal law. Anyway, um, yeah. So, okay. So, well, the forms I'm toiling with are between the eye line and the mouth line. On someone who almost gains like Keanu's here. It's not as apparent, but correct me if I'm wrong. Are you talking about like the nasal labial fold, like this area, like in here? Or are you talking about like underneath the eyes, or you're talking about like just this area, like right here, this like zygomatic bone kind of goes through here. Um, in this picture, sitting on the zygomatic eye line sits a triangle. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. That's what I was just saying. So yeah, this whole area. Um, mm-hmm. um, Fat pad that sits above the nasolabial fold. Okay, a furrow. Yeah, up here. It's like your cheeks, basically. Your upper cheeks. For most times, especially in old men, the furrow is just like some rope that wraps around the mouth, but the triangle connects from the eye to the. I think you meant cheekbone. Check. He said check. Yeah, cheekbone, the zygomatic bone. Yeah. It sits just behind or disappears into the nasal furrow. Sound right? Yeah. It's shallow, but on Keanu's face in the picture ref. Um. Oh wait. So what was Gaunt? Okay. So let's go back to this picture here. Just check some other things here. Uh, do. So you're talking about like right here, right? Like this area, like this kind of triangle, right? So what's the challenge? I mean, because this is to me this is pretty straightforward. I mean you're gonna have this area raised, and you carve in there. You're gonna have this kind of like bunched up a little bit, and then if you have like high cheekbones and like no this is called a buccal fat pad, which I have a significant one, which I wouldn't mind having removed. It kind of what gives a rounder face versus the more gaunt, a little bit more like what's his name, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp doesn't have a buccal fat pad almost at all, or it's like non-existent because it's just like you have a more defined face that way. Like more it's more gaunt looking, I guess you could say, but it's more defined versus more full, right? So that's what that does, and that's appealing to some people, and others it's less appealing or not appealing. But I find that just a little less in the face sometimes, like in that area, the buccal fat, it really makes the face nice because it gives it just a bit more form. It just allows those planes to be a little bit more defined, and it just gives the face a less round look and a little bit more triangular and angular look. I mean, and that's fine. Some people love that, some people don't. But I find that a little bit more appealing visually than just a round face. I think for children, it's nice to have a round face. It's very cute when you're designing a child character. Like a very round face is typical of we're going toward baby then, right? We're going toward like a very round ball kind of head. But as you become an adult, things like elongate and expand out, and usually, idyllic proportions are a little bit more squared and a little bit more, slightly more planar, slightly, as opposed to just smooth, clean. But then again, certain women, certain faces look very beautiful and very nice with just a very clean, round face too. So there's all these other variables that make a face more or less attractive. But to each their own. So anyway, sorry. So what's the question exactly? Challenge. I've been told I was wrong about this. I'm trying to sculpt fuller faces and to get my subject right. I feel I have to understand everything to get him right. Trying to. You don't have to understand everything. That's definitely a common misconception. Sorry, I'm talking a lot here, not sculpting, but let me at least adjust the nose here a little bit. Adjust music. So yeah, you don't need to understand everything. First of all, don't let that lead you away from feeling confident about what you're doing. Um, what you do have to understand is just simply what that person's face looks like. Don't think so much about the underlying muscle structure. Think more so about the shape of the face as an object, simply as something you're modeling, something you're sculpting. So whether it's a human face or it's like say this turkey, for example, or chicken. To replicate a shape just means you have to be able to observe it from the proper angles to understand its dimensionality. So, why do I have this, by the way? I'm sure you're wondering. I'll tell you. It's because I pre-ordered a collector's edition of Streets of Rage 4, and they had a statue that came along with it that looks terrible, I'm sad to say. Bad sculpting on the statue, horrible. Of the characters, so much that I'm gonna redo it my own because it's terrible. But I love Streets of Rage. The especially 2 and 3 are my favorites. 1 was meh, but huge fan of Streets of Rage 2. Oh my god, I played that game so much as a kid on Sega Genesis. If you've never played Streets of Rage, you can still download it on a lot of different places. You know, the Genesis collection. Play it, it's great. But anyway, you pick up these little turkeys or chickens randomly, like, you know, off the street or whatever, and they give you full health. You know, anyway, so that's why I have this right here, just laying here. And it's funny because it's like a stress ball. It's like squishy. I don't know, ridiculous. It came with the statue. I'm probably gonna sell the statue and make my own. But anyway, it's all about just understanding dimensionality of something. That's just break free of thinking about all the muscle groups and everything, and just think, no, what are the planes? What are the shapes? And what you think of even like primitives, like primitive shapes. So like a sphere and a triangle, a cylinder, or a cone, something conical, and then how would you insert those into like your classic, as you're drawing ahead, they always call it like the ball and the egg, right? The sphere. So you draw a circle for like your dome for this whole area, and then like an egg long ways to get the rest of the face. And then you draw a line across here for the eye line, and then a vertical line down to the center where the nose would be. Then you draw a little line here for like the base of the nose, another little line down here, one other third of the way down for the mouth, and then, you know, a little bit below that's your chin. And then, you know, you can immediately start to kind of triangulate the landmarks of the face that way when you're drawing. And so it's a lot like that in 3 dimensions, you know. Go from one angle first and trying to get like the general shape, then go profile and then try to get that other shape, right? And then go 3/4 and then try to match what you did from the front and from the profile with a 3/4 view. And now you're going to start figuring out and finding that space, right, where it becomes a challenge. Then that's definitely like you're gonna go through what many call Ryan Kingsling coined the phrase the valley of the suck, or he was pulling that from someone else, I forget. But you're gonna go through that moment then where you're like in the valley of the suck. You're in the valley of just like, ugh, this looks horrible, god, I hate my work, I can't do it, I'm a fail here, get over that. To be hard on yourself, say like, no, it looks bad now, but I know it's gonna get better, I can do better, I can get there. Just do it. Just keep working at it. And then if you're getting to a point where you've spent an hour or two and you're just like, I can't get it right, step away, go take a walk, go see the sunset, go pet a dog, go eat some chocolate, just go play a game, go do whatever you need to do. Get away for, 30 minutes, an hour, and then come back. And then come back and you'll have fresh eyes. You'll kind of look at it differently. Maybe go to bed if it's late at night, get some sleep, because often I'll find myself and other people, we push ourselves as artists working late at night. And we'll just keep pushing ourselves and wondering, like, why can't I get this right? Why is it not looking right? And then you'll go, and you're trying to do like a process or an operation that you've done a million times, but you just can't remember how to do it right, or something's not clicking. And then you'll realize, oh, I'm just freaking tired. Go to sleep, get good sleep, wake up the next day refreshed, get some coffee in you, drink some water, and then look back at your thing, and you'll be able to usually find a solution like that. And you'll just go boom, 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 boom. And then like what took you like 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes or to no avail last night, you'll now do in like a minute or 2 or 5 minutes, because your brain is just getting foggy, and it's just how it goes. So anyway, I mean, those are my just general pointers for people struggling with faces. Likenesses are hard though. I mean, I wouldn't ever say that they're super easy, but you get better at understanding facial anatomy intuitively. I'm not thinking about every single muscle and, like every single little form and piece of it. I'm looking at the whole and then kind of like focusing in on details and kind of getting things here and there right. In this case, I was working with a scan after I started my own one, so I was, like I said, not too far off. But of course, if you can get a scan of anybody, that helps a lot. But that's usually not the case unless they're a famous actor. And even so, it's only if you're working on a professional gig, But I was able to do a decent likeness of Ewan McGregor. I was very proud of, and that was only off of photographs. I can show you guys that quick. And I was proud of that. I think I know what's wrong with it too, in that there's things that are not perfect, but I think it's hard for people to tell because he has a very symmetrical face. So I didn't go out of symmetry for the whole thing until near the end, and I did minimal asymmetry on it, almost none. And that's why I think it just looks a little off, but it still looks good. It looks a little off because I think there's certain aspects to his nose and his eyes that should be a little bit more asymmetrical, and here they're pretty much symmetrical except for like a little wart that I gave him that's his it's on his forehead, like right here. But still, I'm very proud of it. I still have it in my portfolio, and this was done years ago, like many years ago. Oops. But yeah, I mean, it's dang it. Work with me here. There we go. But yeah, so this was done for actually an art test for Hasbro years ago. And they just actually just wanted me to do just this basic form, and I didn't realize they didn't want not they didn't want, but they weren't asking for a likeness, but they were like, holy shit, you did this in like 3 days and you even gave us a likeness. Oh my god. They like loved it, and it got me some work here and there. But yeah, I was proud of this. I mean, again, it's not perfect only because I think there should be a little bit of asymmetry on one of his eyes. I think it's like a little bit lower, and the eyelids probably a little bit like lower. Little things, little subtle things. But he has a very symmetrical face, which is again why a lot of people find it very attractive. He's got a very nice, balanced face. Good proportions. The nose is very clean lined. He's got that nice little cleft in the chin, but not too much. It's just good looking dude. He's got good solid features, nice proportions everywhere. So yeah, so I think that's why it passed easily. With being totally symmetrical, except for just very slight things in the eyebrows and the little wart. So this is all done from photographs. Then I also did work on Harrison Ford for. It was actually, I think this was one of the toys they made of it, but they made another one that was a high-end collectible that I don't have here, but I'll have in my reel because I found it later on. Because this doesn't look exactly like this, but it's a version of this. But then when you send it to like an Asian manufacturing area, they often will do a bad paint job, and sometimes the molds aren't that great either. And so this is kind of the result of that, sadly. But they made a higher end collectible out of this too, and it looks almost exactly like this. But yeah, so this was started with a scan of Harrison Ford, and I had to do a bunch of other Star Wars characters for this whole line. So it was like a mad rush. So I didn't get a lot of time to go deeper into detail, but they also were telling me not to go too far into detail because I have all the other characters I had to do, and these were meant to be both die cast, like for multiple things. They're going to use some for die casts, they were going to use some for action figures, and then some for high-end collectibles. And this was going to be used for, I think, just the action figures and high-end collectibles. I don't think this became a die cast model, but it might have. But I don't remember them telling me that for this one. But anyway, I started with the facial scan, actually a full body scan for certain things. But then had to remake a lot of it or adjust them. Like they'll ask me to adjust funny things like his butt. Like didn't want to have old saggy man butt. They wanted it to be a little bit more perky, but not too perky, not too tight, not too loose in the pants. Like there was all this back and forth about things that they wanted, tightened up, and so that was funny. And then this was a what was he called? It's not a stormtrooper. It was a Black Knight. Black Knight, I think is what they called him, the Black Knight. So this was another one I did for Star Wars. Not a likeness, but just one more of the whole series of different things. And then this was one that was die cast and turned into both a die cast action figure ship. This was awesome. It was fun to work on. Kylo Ren's ship. It was a lot of fun. This was like, I couldn't find the last model before it went to production, but this was like next to last. Like this was like close to it being done. And then here's the actual finished toy. That was fun. It was really fun to work on that, and it was a headache though too. It was like painful because there were so many greebles and nernies and little things, like tiny little bolts and nuts and details I had to do, that they gave me the model from ILM, and then I had to reduce it and edit it so that it could actually be created really, because so much of it was just intersecting open-faced pieces, just intersecting planes, right? So like here's the wing, and then here's a greeble that it would pass through, and it was just open-faced like a cup, just inserted through, so that you can't print that. You'd have to seal everything up and boolean things together, but we didn't have live boolean back then, so I had to like do Dynamesh like crazy, and it was hell. It was painful, but it's cool to at least have that in my feather in that cap of work. So, but anyway, so definitely worked on a bunch of Star Wars stuff in the past. and on characters that I am a fan of. So that was fun. It was cool. So anyway, so likenesses are challenging, but you'll get used to it after a while. You'll start to get into the flow of just, how faces work, and then it's just getting to those idiosyncrasies, making those adjustments. And sometimes they're really subtle, and sometimes they might be major, but definitely get good reference for front, side, and profile. And if you can get anything from below or above, that may help too, but definitely front, side, and profile. Yeah, front, side, and 3/4, excuse me. Um, yeah, front profile and 3/4. And if you can get both profiles, like left and right, even better. Because you will find differences, and when you compare, once you've made adjustments from one angle, like I said, you can go to the other angle, and then third angle or fourth, you're going to start to see where you're off, and where you can then make those adjustments by doing what I'm doing here, like superimposing the image or bringing it into Lightbox, and then or Spotlight, excuse me, because I'm all confused, and then using that as like a good reference to, like, match up your likeness with, because you're basically kind of tracing, sort of three-dimensional tracing is kind of what you're doing when you're trying to do likeness. Sorry, so I'm missing a bunch of chat. What did you guys say? Subject clearly shows layers of anatomy and fat pads on his face. It's insane. I share my subject online, but most times I do. Someone else decides to sculpt him too. So he'll with giving anyone else any ideas. And what is this? Sedgehammer? Is that like a waving hello? Hello, Sedgehammer? I hear you, and you're right. Trouble is, this guy shows all these forms, so I have to get them in there and layers to get his likeness. The project is my white whale. Literally learning facial anatomy, trying to sculpt this one guy. Yeah, I hear you. Now I'm sculpting Elizabeth Olsen. Yeesh. I think I'm going to try sculpting anime. Make my life easier. Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen has a unique face. She's very cute, but it's almost like some aspects of her face are kind of like a living anime character. Speaking of which, it's funny. She has a very round, yet kind of square-ish head, and very big, very bright, big eyes, and very symmetrical too, if I'm not mistaken. The eye distance is a bit wider than probably like perfect, but it still looks good on her. Um, she has like a small, cute nose, and she has nice facial features. Yeah, she has a very clean, nice face, attractive face, um, which can be challenging because it's like near perfect in proportions, and unique, stylized, sort of not stylized, but like a unique face, in some respects. So yeah, and then of course it looks that way from what I'm still thinking from memory, but I'm sure when you analyze it, there's asymmetry all over the place, and like little subtleties and unique idiosyncrasies to the face. It's like anyone's face. Yeah, I'm sure it's challenging, but good luck. Also knowing how your brushes work, yep, help pinch tool, yep. Most underestimated tool. Yeah, pinch tool's great. I have that down here. I love the pinch tool. It's my very lowest. It's my lowest brush right here. It's the pinch brush. Um, Anime isn't always easy. Just made Kaneda from Akira was tough. Yeah, anime can be hard for sure. Absolutely. Would you use a similar head scan just to set up your sculpt and then alter to fit? Not always. I mean, I often use the base mesh that they hand us in that they give us in ZBrush. So this guy by Nick Z, Nick Zuccarello, he has great work. I use his base meshes all the time, so that's always nice. So that's what I usually start with. It's just a very basic human base mesh. And there's many others you can get out there, but usually I just start with that. I never really start from a scan unless the scan is of the person that I'm supposed to model. Then of course, yeah, I'll use that as the base. But 9 times out of 10, their scans are all triangulated and even like messy, or like missing open face in the back of the head or something. Missing the back of the head or something. So that's when then you still have to reference photos to get things accurate, matching up, and you have to retopo. Basically reproject that face onto another mesh that has clean topology, so it can be animated. That's just how it goes. I have a Neo model that I rigged for a friend 4 years ago. Funny thing is, I've never animated it. I think it's because I'm not the one who sculpted it. If I don't own it, most likely I won't animate it. I got you. An animator does not need to be a rigging artist or a sculptor, I think. No, you don't have to. I know a lot of animators who don't know rigging, unfortunately, because I would need a rigger. I need to become a rigger, I guess, is what I have to learn. I have a couple friends who do rigging, and they're probably gonna help me with stuff. But um, yeah, rigging's definitely specialized, and it's deep, I know, and it'll keep you employed for sure. If you know rigging, you're definitely going to stay employed for a long time. But I don't know how much you can charge. Like I don't know if you can really if you can get like a day rate of 650, 800 a day or not. I don't know. I don't know if you can charge that. Maybe you can charge 1,000 even. Um, if they really need you and it's a tight pinch, that usually can go up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what the average rate of riggers are, but I'm assuming it's comparable or less to modelers and animators. Um, now we hit the geek gold. Hilarious. Um, Amazing work. Oh, thank you. Do you find that hard surface on Kylo's ship harder in ZBrush rather than Cinema 4D or others? Sorry, I'm ZBrush frustrated. Well, I mean, I don't remember if there was ZModeler brush when I was working. I don't think there was. Actually, I don't think they had invented it yet or released it. So, but there were other ways to do some basic box modeling for sure in ZBrush. And because they gave me the mesh from ILM to begin with, to fix and seal up, not fix, but seal up for 3D printing to mold it. It wasn't as hard as you might think. So no, I don't. It wasn't really that hard at that time. Now it's even easier than ever. If you have the ZModeler brush, if you use this, make sure I found my mouse. ZModeler tool brush, man, this thing is awesome. I mean, you can just do so much with the ZModeler brush now that there's like really no reason to, no need really to get out of ZBrush unless you just, you know, unless you just like other packages, But you can do so much with the ZModeler brush so quickly that it's pretty awesome. I mean, you can do so much fast box modeling. I'm not even showing you everything right now, but I mean, you can just, you select your edges and you can do whatever you need to here. I mean, a great thing that I love too that I recently learned about the ZModeler brush, like recently a few months ago, like if you're on an edge and you want to mask just a specific edge loop, you can do that, which is awesome. It's super useful. So like here, I just want to mask that edge loop so that I can, I don't know, expand elsewhere and make some cool shapes quickly, right? And then move that up, and I don't know. Then do this and do that and do that and do that, and suddenly we're making a Blade Runner building, right, or whatever. It's like this box modeling tools in ZBrush are pretty awesome. I think people just definitely don't explore enough with them or give them enough credit. Let's see what else we can do here quick. This is a great example. Oops. There we go. You can say like, I want to affect all polygons, but only this polygon, this polygon island or polygroup island, excuse me. So then I can just do this and extrude out from there, but it's only affecting these polygroups, right? You could turn on like radial symmetry and then do like, other way, and then do something crazy like, that's not working out exactly as I wanted. Actually don't need radial line, just do X. What else can we do here? I mean, I'm just sort of like just pulling things out of my butt right here. I don't know exactly what to trying to think, because it's like you almost need like a real character with issues to solve or things to do. But I mean, there's so much you can do so quickly with ZModeler. That it's, I don't know, it's just a gold mine. I don't know why people don't explore it more or are afraid to, because I think that there's so much value in being able to operate quickly within ZBrush and not have to go into Maya, to attempt to do a lot of this or to take care of it, and then bring it back in here. So like, let's say you have a mesh that you you have two parts here. This is a very rudimentary example, but it will still show you a great concept, a great principle that you can do with ZModeler. You can bridge these gaps very easily. And it doesn't have to be even like the same topology. So let me like subdivide up a bunch of times, right? So now we're high res. I'll delete lower. And this one will be lower, and we'll merge these two together. Yes. Now we want to bridge that gap. Now, ideally, you want to have closer topology that's like closer to each other. But for this example, I just want to show that you don't need that, though. You can do it without it. Definitely ideal. So you want to have similar poly counts from both ends you want to join. But let's say you want it just to bridge this. You say 2 holes, and you say here, and then you zoom in here and say here. Bam, and it'll solve for that for that difference in poly counts from one end to the other, and it will look as clean as it can. So there's crazy things like that you can do where you have high density topology flow into low or vice versa. And now I just made that weird totem thing from Tenet or whatever. For those who've seen Tenet, you know what I mean. That's so weird. Like, I want to like the movie, but it doesn't quite work. There's parts of it, vignettes, featurettes I like about it, but I feel like sadly, it wasn't as great as other Nolan's other work. Anyway, but yeah, ZModeler brush is awesome, guys. Highly recommend you experiment with it, learn it. It's great. It's extremely useful, extremely helpful. But I think we're about at time now, so I should probably get going. Really didn't do much in Keanu today, sadly. But it's because I'm on the ZModeler brush. There we go. But at least I can adjust his nose. We'll give him that sneer because we're practically there anyway. It's very little adjustment here. And I'm gonna pull that up a little bit. Oops. Turn off the other guy. Bring that up and his nostril out. Or a little too much out. Let's see here. All right, so yeah, it's a bit more subtle. Flare these up a little bit more. Let's bring the other guy back to make sure that we're not going too far in either way. That's going to be coming up, compressing up as he's sneering a bit. Right, so it's like doing that. Oh, autosave. Anyway, sorry, I missed a bunch of chat. Internet cut off, but the last thing I heard was that you like Streets of Rage 4. I do too. Right now I'm on chapter 9. Did you know you can buy 50 Genesis games bundle part 1, 2, 3? Oh yeah, I'm a huge Streets of Rage fan, Comics Legend. Yeah, so I've played them multiple times across multiple systems, and yeah, I have the Genesis collection on my PC and on my PS4 and on my Switch, Nintendo Switch. Yeah, those are great. I mean, I bought Streets of Rage 2 again on my 3DS as well, even though I hardly ever play it. They made a 3D version of Streets of Rage 2, and it's awesome. And they have a cool little like cheats and perks you can add in too that are exclusively on the 3DS. So yeah, big Streets of Rage fan. But anyway, I think that nostril's still flaring up even a little bit more. So it's like really, it's doing that. It's a little too extreme, maybe. Probably pull this one up a little bit too to kind of balance them. All right, let's match that up again. Yeah, it's getting pretty close there. I think bring that other side here is down a little bit more. Yeah, and then this feels like it has to go up a little bit and tighter. Yeah, that feels like it's about right. Maybe bring the septum in here just a little bit. I think we're about good for now. I think it's about right. What do you guys think? I think the mouth just needs to be just needs to be opened a little bit, and then I think we're good for the facial expression. We got to touch up the pinching of the muscles in there in the scalp and the forehead. I'll do a quick save again. I'm just gonna wrap up here because I'm already at like 4:30, so I need to go. But her face is tough and mannish in some ways, mouth, cheeks, but I have her likeness. Need to make her softer, attractive, yet scary. Yeah, that's hard. Making like an angry, attractive woman, that can be challenging for sure. Making the face appealing and attractive yet angry. Yeah, that's. I would say almost to go for a relaxed, like get her likeness down as like a neutral pose, neutral expression first, and then do blend shapes to get the anger, right? So then you can toggle them, you can kind of fine tune them, and you can exaggerate them to a certain degree without having to resculpt and manipulate. You can just sort of push your levers, your sliders a little bit more. So definitely try blend shapes, and when you're happy, then just bake them down so that it's finalized. But if you haven't done it yet, I would definitely say like do a neutral expression and then do the anger or whatever expression she needs to have, if you can, if you haven't done that yet. Great answer. Thank you for the example too. Sure. Yeah, you're welcome. I just hit a eureka moment in coding. I solved a major challenge I was facing. Thanks, Danny. You inspired me to solve an issue creatively. Okay, cool. Glad I could help. Awesome. We're conquering coding problems. Yes. All right, guys. Well, we're at time, so I should bounce. I'm sorry I didn't get too much more done on Keanu, but again, it's not just about this, but hopefully you guys learned something as well. That's helpful. Yeah, so here we are. We're good for now. But yeah, we're getting there. So with the scan, we can see that we're very tight here on everything. Here's the underline scan, and mine's like the ghosted version. So it's like subtle things here, like this probably could be pushed back a bit, just a little bit, but it will still be raised a little bit too, so we don't want it too far back. But we can see here that the forehead's still a little bigger than it probably needs to be. So I'm smoothing here just to kind of constrict it. So like little things like this add up collectively to making something look better. But yeah, we're getting there. Keanu's the man. Like, I want to buy an Arch motorcycle someday, but then the other part of me is like, I don't want to die. I've just seen so many horrible accidents, not on Arch motorcycles. I'm sure they're great cycles. They seem awesome. I just was seeing so many really tragic accidents in the ER from people who've crashed on motorcycles, and so it really kind of keeps me very respectful of the dangers that are in riding a motorcycle and lane splitting, which is a very common thing here in LA and in other states, which is a very dangerous thing to do. Convenient if you're in a rush to get somewhere, but extremely dangerous. And even just regular riding. I was literally walking my dog 2 days ago or yesterday, and somebody hit a guy on a motorcycle right here at my right at the corner. I'm near an intersection, and yeah, and the guy I don't know if the guy made it or not, but you know, I don't know if he was even conscious. I just saw that, you know, ambulances were coming by, and yeah, it's kind of scary. So it's always sad to see that happen. I mean, even though I can't stand sometimes the loud noises of motorcycles going by, I rather people not get creamed by a car. I think it was a hit and run too, from what a bystander told me. So it's terrible. So yeah, motorcycles, scary. Awesome, but scary. So anyway, sorry, I'm just getting sucked in here. I'm just like, no, gotta make it better. But yeah, definitely can bring some of this in here more. But anyway, I should get going because I have a lot of other things I need to do today, and gotta keep clients happy, gotta keep projects going, so I should bounce. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me for the last 2-ish hours. It's been fun. I hope you guys have learned something from me blundering around here and getting stuff slowly inching along. Next stream will be today's Tuesday, next Sunday. And again, I will try. I would say I try, and I never do. I'll try to get another stream going for myself alone, like just on my own stream on my Twitch. So I'll give you some social media links for those who have not followed or don't know my other accounts. What else do we got here? I can, if there's a place I can share, let me know. I know Pixologic's not the place. Oh, Hannibal, yeah, if you want to email me, whatever, I mean, feel free. What does that say? Chris Ross? You're welcome. Cheers. Thank you for joining me. Great seeing this come together. Take care. Thank you, Comic Legend. Calling it a night. Thanks for the awesome answers, and keep up the awesome work. Thank you. So yeah, if anybody wants to send me whatever to ask questions or reference, this is my email. Pardon me, my site, of course, you guys saw that. If I can type. Twitch, please follow me on there if you would like to see other streams. I will eventually be streaming on there more often, I promise. It's just a lot coming together. I'm working on a podcast, my first podcast. I already have the interview done. It's just gonna have to be edited and put together, but I'm working on that, so I probably should do that today as well. That'll be on my YouTube and my Twitch channels, and SoundCloud as well. So basically, if you just look up Daniel Lion Arts anywhere, you'll find me pretty much on all those places. Oh yeah, IG, one of the best places to keep up with me as well. Same thing. At Daniel Lion Arts, it's all one word. Yeah. So keep in touch. Give me a follow, please, if you're not following me on Instagram. I'd appreciate it. Trying to get my numbers up. And yeah, I'll be back on Sunday. Hopefully, I'll do a stream of one of these things, whether it's a game, whether it's another continuation of Keanu here, or Cupid, or whatever. Hopefully, I'll be able to get another stream in here. Yeah, this week. So anyway, all right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Take care, stay safe, and get out and get some sunlight. Enjoy the day or the night, wherever you are.